Tragedy after another New York City landlord snaps after having a dispute with his tenants over unpaid rent. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the tragic story for you today, and it has to do with another New York City landlord who just snapped. Okay, now I already covered the story about the landlord who decided to light his own building on fire, trying to, I guess, hurt these tenants who hadn't paid him rent. And that was a very tragic story, but the good news about that story was that no one was hurt. Okay, there were children and adults in the unit, and no one died. And that was a very good thing that they were able to, get out of there and be safe. But in this story here, it's a tragedy. Okay, and this is just an awful thing that happened here. And before I even start talking about the story, I want you to know that this is not normal behavior. This isn't something that landlords normally do. Okay, yeah, we get frustrated over when people don't pay us on time, etc. But 99.999% of the time, we stay within the law. We go through the legal system, even in places like New York where the legal system is working against us. Okay, so this isn't something that I condone. This isn't something that the grand majority of us, think is cool. Okay, but I do want to say that I can understand why this guy got so frustrated. And honestly, I believe that there's more to the story, because it wasn't just the tenants that ended up passing away during this, but also the guy's girlfriend. And I'm like, well, I don't think this is just merely a story about unpaid rent. So it's quite an interesting story if you haven't seen it already. I'll tell you all the details here in just a moment. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Have you ever felt like you were going to snap? Okay, like some of these tenant issues that you've had to deal with were just driving you up a wall. Okay, I've had some very serious tenant problems before. I've never felt like I was going to do anyone any harm, but I did feel like I was placed into a very stressful situation. And fortunately, I manage my stress through exercise. I run ultra marathons, but a lot of people, they have negative outlets for their stress, right? And or they don't have any outlet at all, and then it explodes in anger on someone else, and that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate, and that's what I feel like happened in this situation here. But until we know more details, we won't know for sure what the true motivation was behind what happened here. Okay, so anyway, let me get into this article, and we can talk about what really happened as we go through it. This article is coming from usatoday.com, and it says, landlord arrested after 3 people found stabbed to death in New York City home. Yeah, and like I said, this seems to be happening a lot up in New York, and I believe this was also in the Queens neighborhood, which was the same, or the Queens borough, I'm sorry, which is the same borough where the landlord tried to burn. You know what? I don't know if it's Queens or Brooklyn, but anyway, I think the article has more details. But the point is, New York, right? That's where this stuff is happening, where these crazy incidents like this is happening, and I think it might have to do with the difficulty landlords up there have in evicting tenants who don't pay rent, the difficulty landlords have in making a living. And I'm not saying that's what caused this tragedy to happen, but I'm saying that was an additional stressor on this guy. Okay, but anyway, let's get into it. A landlord was arrested and charged Tuesday after 3 people were found fatally stabbed inside a New York City home, authorities said. The 54-year-old landlord had turned himself in at a police station Tuesday morning and confessed, according to New York Police Department Assistant Chief Kevin Williams. Officers then discovered 3 victims inside a home in the residential neighborhood of St. Albans in Queens. Earlier this morning, a 54-year-old man walked into the 113th precinct, stating to uniformed police officers that he was having issues with his tenants. Williams said during a news conference Tuesday. The officer inquired further, and the male stated that he did something bad. So, obviously he was riddled with guilt over what happened, okay, over what he did, and immediately turned himself in, which, I would prefer you would go rather than hurting other people. I would prefer you go kill yourself, honest truth, okay? Go jump off a bridge or something, but why are you hurting other people? If you're that stressed out, go end it for yourself. Don't sit here and hurt other people. I know a lot of people there. Oh, no, no, he shouldn't hurt himself either. Well, what's the alternative? He hurts himself, or these three people end up dead. I don't like that three people lost their lives to this jerk. Okay. So anyway, let me continue. The three victims, two women and a man, were found unconscious and unresponsive at the scene, according to Williams. Responding officers had rendered aid to the victims, but emergency responders pronounced all three victims deceased at the scene. The suspect was identified as David Daniel and is facing murder charges in connection to the deaths, the New York Times reported. Police said Daniel is in custody and the investigation remains ongoing. Williams said the suspect had appeared as calm as we thought possibly as can be when engaged the officers at the police station Tuesday. Officials have not yet identified the victims, but the Times reported that Daniel told police that two of the victims were his tenants and the third victim was his girlfriend. Police added that no children lived in the home and all the victims were adults. Investigators believe that the violence may be connected to a dispute between Daniel and the tenants over unpaid rent, according to Times and CBS New York. So, yeah, like I said, I understand if the two tenants, they were he targeted them because of the unpaid rent, but why his girlfriend? Okay, what did she do? Or what was the lot? Like that's why I feel like this isn't just a story of a landlord and unpaid rent. I feel like this is a story of something happened. He snapped, and maybe he was having relationship issues with his girlfriend, and he took care of her first, and then he was still angry, and he was like, well, now is the opportunity to take out these tenants who haven't been paying me. And I don't know. Okay, I'm just speculating here. We're going to find out a lot more details if this story doesn't get buried. A lot of these stories I never end up hearing what happens because it's like the public loses interest, and next thing you know, it's been years, and you never heard what the end result was of the criminal case, etc. My hope is he goes ahead, pleads guilty, they give him life in prison, and he never sees the light of day again. Okay. But like I said, I don't think this is a pure landlord tenant dispute. I think there's maybe some relationship stuff going on here, etc. And I just want to also just say that, hey, landlords who are out there and you're feeling stressed, you're feeling like there's no hope, there's no possibility of you just landing on your feet. Okay, there are ways out of any situation that don't involve violence. That there are legal ways out. There are ways that maybe you'll have to make a sacrifice, but this shouldn't be something where we're talking about ending someone's life. Okay, regardless of how I feel about my tenants, this is just a business, okay? And worst case scenario is we go belly up, okay? But that happens sometimes, and you can always crawl back from the bottom and work your way back up. But there's no need for violence. There's no need for loss of life. There's no need to be doing this sort of thing. And now this guy, his life is ruined, and these people, they lost their lives, and none of it was worth it in the long run, not for unpaid rent.